a man who oozes confidence, a man who's an inspiration. He's got a story which will inspire you in total. Please give a big round of applause and welcome the star maker, the legend, the inspiration, the Dronacharya to many Arjunas. Please give it up for the one, the only, Pullela Gopichand. It's always an inspiration. You've been an inspiration to a whole lot of people. We are just waiting. Everybody's been waiting because आज हम आपसे बहुत कुछ सीख के जाएं, आपसे कुछ inspiration लेके जाएं. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give a big round of applause. Gopichand.
Thank you very much, and very good morning to all of you, and welcome to the academy. I think I've done a lot of talking, but never at the academy in this setup. So it's really nice. Thanks. Welcome all of you. Well, what you see here, of course, what you see here is the badminton courts. We built this place in 2008. Back then, the ground which you see was actually a huge lake kind of a thing, because a few people had actually done the rock quarrying, and then there was a huge crater there, which we actually filled up, and that's how the ground is. This place actually, when we did the foundations, we had actually gone about 30 feet down below the road to actually do it. So this place is totally different from when we started off. I just talk a few things about the academy. Here is 8 badminton courts. We have kids staying here. There is a gymnasium there and a cafeteria there and my office room. The idea came up to me post my All England. I had an opportunity and a chance, and I was dreaming that if I ever get a chance, I will try and make something like this. The idea being that when I was young and was going to play, we lived in Hyderabad, which is in the central part of, today maybe the old city of Hyderabad. So there we used to go, and then sometimes the watchman won't come. We are waiting for the watchman to open the door. Then we go inside and there's no power. Sometimes the net is not there. Sometimes the courts are not mopped. And then you wait for players to come, coach to come, shuttles to come. Then the same thing goes when we used to go to the gym. The watchman wasn't there, nobody to clean the work. Or we go to the ground and the ground is watered, there's a political function. Or we go to the pool for recovery or something, it's the same thing. So one of the things which I had in mind was, I actually struggled a lot to get all of the simple things, and I'm not talking about sports science, nutrition, psychologist, physiologist, all of that. And I'm only talking about these basic stuff. So when I thought of the academy, my idea was that we should build one place which has all of them at one place, so that I don't spend so much of time commuting or going and figuring out where these places are. And that's how the idea of the academy came up. So when you look at it, all of it is here. And there's recovery, there's training, there's food, there's sleep, everything. So all they need to do is wear their shoes, come down, and courts are there to play. That was the idea behind what we started off. But it's been, for me, personally, it's been a great journey. I was never thought that I would go this far. I started playing when I was 10 and 11. My father worked in a bank, so I was in Orissa, then I was in Tamil Nadu, Chennai, and Prakasham district in Andhra Pradesh. Then I came to Hyderabad when I was in the 6th class. I came here, my mom is there. She helps me with all the admin of the academy. I was playing cricket like everybody else in 85, 86. Playing cricket, we broke some window panes, got got sunstroke because we were playing too much in the sun. And then luckily we stayed close to the stadium. So mom said, why don't you go and play something? So she took me, apparently we went to cricket and cricket was full because admissions had closed. So we went looking, we went around outside the stadium and then we had the tennis courts. And parents somehow decided that there were too many cars, and they told me later that there were too many cars present in the tennis court. So they were a little apprehension. It looks like a rich man's sport. So we didn't take up tennis. So we moved to badminton. And luckily there was nobody playing badminton. There were 3 courts empty. Coach was sitting there. We went there and said, sir, can I join and play? He says, yeah, perfect, you can come and join. We paid the fee there, 10 rupees, and then we came and joined badminton. So that's the story of how I started playing badminton. So it's very funny because one of the reputed newspapers, actually, once I won the All England, they had written one article saying that how on the day I picked up my racket, I dreamt that I would be a All England champion. So that day it gave me a very important story which said that never trust the press. So when there, each day has been a great journey because to be honest, thanks to Prakash sir for winning the All England way back in 80, so that we could at least dream of becoming an All England champion. But the fact remained that Andhra Pradesh, then Andhra Pradesh or Hyderabad, had no national champions till then. So even for me to dream, the All England was too big for Frederick. So for me the dream was that I wanted to be the best. There was one player called Ezaz, and he used to be like a man with a little paunch, and then he would hit a big smash. So my ultimate player in the world was him, and I wanted to be like him. And I didn't know of any other tournament or thing. It was about him. And we were a bunch of 4-5 kids who started around the same time. So I would go there, try to be better than them. And as soon as I realized that if I work harder, I'll be better. If I work harder than these people who joined with me, I would be better. And I know somewhat how it struck to me, but that's how I started working harder than them. If they came at 6 o'clock, I would come at 5:30. And if they finished at 8 o'clock, I would finish at 8:15, thinking that I'll play a little more faster or better or harder or run faster, and I would be better than them. That's how I started playing, and that continued as a perspective for me in my entire life. That's how this journey went. I wanted to study engineering. Not I wanted to, my parents just wanted me to study engineering like everybody else. So I wrote the exam. Luckily for me, I failed. So it gave me a chance to play badminton for another year. I joined Bachelor of Economics, BA, and that's when I got my first results. And that's how I got my first job. And that is when it was confirmed that I would continue to play badminton. Took one step at a time. I won the nationals, then I went for my first international. When I went for my first international, it's a very interesting thing that I was the youngest member of a 18-member group which had gone to play in Malaysia. And I lost in the first round, but also everybody in the team lost in the first round. So we were sitting on that day in this hotel in Kuala Lumpur, next to the stadium Negara. And everybody in the room kind of unanimously agreed that it was so difficult to beat the Chinese and Indonesians. And I, as a young kid, got up and said, no, these guys are nothing, I'm going to beat them. And everybody pounced on me and said, बच्चा है, बहुत उछट रहा है, जल्दी सीख जाएगा. And in all my boyish enthusiasm, I got up and I said, मैं जीत के दिखाऊंगा. And I walked out of that room hurt. If I'm proud of anything, it's the fact that in all my career, after my multiple losses, I let the kid in me alive till the day I stopped playing competitive. And for me, that's been the most proudest moment, to be able to keep that positivity around me, in spite of actually having about 3 knee surgeries on my left knee, where I had an anterior cruciate ligament in '94, and a meniscus and a cartilage in 96, and another surgery in 98. But I just had that kid in me alive who kept saying that मैं जीत के दिखाऊंगा and I will prove myself. So it's only today that I can talk of it in the way I do. Back then it was just that childish enthusiasm and that simple concept that hard work pays. And these were the only two things. But today when I say, when you connect the dots, you can actually tell this story, because I wanted to, suddenly some of these kids who are playing here actually asked me how you've been successful as a player and you've been successful as a coach, and what did you do? Well, and that's when I started to retract myself to tell this story, and I realized that this is what probably helped me out in the end. We started this academy in 2000. I started coaching in 2004. This academy came up in this original form in 2008. I started coaching in the Gachibowli Stadium. When this place was I was trying to get the funds to build this. When I started, we had this young bunch of about 25 kids who were there. The youngest of that group was Sindhu at 8. The oldest of the group was Kashyap at 15. And it's really good that many of those players in that group, whether Saina was about 13 then, Kashyap was 15, Sindhu was 8, there was Sai Praneeth, there was Sikki Reddy, Sumit Reddy who was at the Olympics, and multiple national champions and Commonwealth medalists have come out of that group of 25. We started on April, on the Ugadi day in 2004, and many of them today are top national and international players. So it only proved my point that if I could do it with very limited facilities, many other kids could do it, and we've been fairly successful. It's a journey which continues, and hopefully in the years to come we'll have more champions come along. I'll be happy to take some questions in case there's any. Thank you.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, the one, the only Pullela Gopichand. Any question, put your hand up and we'll get the mic to you. Sir.
You know, in this, it's an amazing journey, and you put it so nicely, but I'm sure a lot of hard work would have gone behind. But just to take this whole, mission which you took on, that we can create champions. And so do you feel, this is possible in other sports also? Or, why it doesn't happen? Like, you were driven by it and you pursued and created champions. The country would want so many gold medals in different sports. So any thoughts on what can, people like us do to help this whole thing and create more champions for the country?
Well, I would say I've been lucky, very fortunate, because the kind of backup I had in terms of me being an All England champion helped. Because when I said, people believed. So when I had a young kid come up to me and talk, I would tell, you're world champion material, just forget it, you're going to win. They just trusted me in that initial space. And that was very important. So that was a good starting point to have. And I was crazy in a way, because all of it took about 10 years of investment. And we've had to struggle quite a bit. Just to share a small anecdote, story of how the academy came up. We came up, I was very fortunate. We went to every corporate on this road, and ICICI wasn't there then. We went to every corporate on that road. I had made presentations. I would go there to make these presentations of how it is possible that Indians could be the best in the world. Many of them, or all of them said, sport is not on our CSR but radar. So they said women, health, sanitation, education. These are the things, and we don't have a mandate for it. So I went to every corporate here around, and then few years passed by. I was very fortunate. There was one person called Matrix Prasad. He gave me a big check, and that's how we had about 3/4 of it built. And then there came a point when I was going to places and people wouldn't take my calls, people wouldn't entertain me, and I was like going and asking for money as though I was asking for myself. And then people said, no, we can't, and they didn't stop taking phone calls. And as an All England champion, you're not used to that kind of a treatment. And finally, to cut the story short, we actually had to mortgage my house and then got a 3 crore loan on it, and we finished the academy. So we need somebody, because there's no belief at that point of time. So we need somebody with that one stature as an All England champion, one with that drive. And luckily I never had to take any money in the initial, say, 10, 12 years of coaching, because my father works, my wife works, I work in IOC, so we had money which was coming in. So it takes about 10 years, and that kind of support we need. We did all this. The land which you see in the front, the building was ready. We had one crazy person in the government who thought that nothing was happening and there should be a 3-star service apartments which should come up here. And they took the land away where the running track is and the swimming pool is. And then I had to fight a court case for about 5 years. And literally this was after the results which we got in 2007, 8 and 9. And we had to struggle. So there's a lot which actually go on in those initial years, which is very, very important. And that makes many of us actually say, it won't happen. That's how the mindset would be. But I think things have changed quite a bit. One thing which I would really say is, whenever I've had a problem, God has been kind. He's always sent a person who's helped me totally, and that has been 100% grace. So I won't say this as it's possible, everything. It is possible, but we need to push as much, and God's grace will always be there. That's how I would put it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. I want you to.
Hello,
answer.
Gopi sir. Good morning. Myself, Anirvan. I have 2 questions for you. You were a champion, and you also make champions. According to you, what is difficult, to be a champion or to make a champion? That is question number 1. Question number 2 is, sir, you represented in All England or in Shanghai Open, Malaysian Open, all there, and you represented in Olympics also. So what is the difference when you represent yourself and when you represent your country at the international stages?
Well, as a sportsman, one is at all times, especially for a badminton player, you always represent somebody only, in the sense you're not professional as such. So even if I'm playing a Malaysian Open or a All England, you are not really Gopichand, you are an Indian. And from that perspective, you're always playing for an Indian. So somebody, I was traveling in a taxi in 2003, and then 2 years back an Indian had won. So they don't really remember which Indian it is. For us, maybe we would recognize it, but for the outside world, it's an Indian. So from that perspective, I think the country that way, when you represent, is more. And the Olympics is the biggest, because you go in a multi-sport event where everybody's eyes are on the sport, and the moment you win, there is a tally other event. As a player, I would think it's a little easier than to get somebody else doing it if you have the talent for it. But say you don't have the talent yourself, then I think it's much better to coach somebody who has the talent. Because genetics are important, and work ethic is important. And also the fact, when I say genetics and talent, I would also say the point that talent is much more widely available. And the thing which you will have a problem with is work ethic and also the confidence when it matters. In a big stage, you are prepared, you are ready for everything, but have you got the guts to actually go out there and perform and do that shot and say, I will take it under pressure? So these are two qualities which are relevant. So if you have, say, 10 kids, out of them, especially in a sport like badminton, you'll have 5 or 6 of them who are talented. But how many of them actually have the work ethic to win, to work hard, and the confidence when it matters to actually take your chance and go for it? And that is what is important. These are two elements which are very important. As a player and a coach, one fundamental difference. As a player, you're looking like this. Everything yourself and about you. As a coach, you just have to change that mirror, everything about him. So whatever is good for the player is good for me. If that attitude is changed in you, it's exactly the same story on the other side. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Sir, I have one question. You handle and train the teams here. We handle and train our teams back at the branches. Some of them are quick starters, some are quick learners. Some of them need some more of an effort to train them. So, as a coach, your focus is more on identifying some of the few talented guys and then making them the Olympians, or as a team, your focus more is on the composition of your focus is more on the training the entire team as such.
Actually, that's a wonderful question. That's very difficult question, actually. To tell the truth, there is something in my heart which I feel, and there's something which I do. So there's not sometimes that sync is a little difficult. I would like every kid who comes here to actually go back as a champion. I would love everybody to come here to go back very positively and happy. But unfortunately, the reality is there's only one champion who can be. And the two levels of thinking. One is to see that everybody improves, everybody has fun, and everybody goes back happy. The other is to see the larger good. And for me, today, the sport is popular because of the players whom we have produced, whether it's Saina or Kashyap or Srikanth or Sindhu or Sumit or Sikki. It's because of these champions that the sport is alive today. So it is important that at a point you have to take the approach of focusing on the people who give you those results, because they benefit the organization. And somewhere down the line, welfare schemes should be in such a way that everybody should be able to contribute and be happy as well. So it's a combination which needs to be done. But one thing which I always tell my other coaches and which I try to follow is that ignore the mistake. A carrot and stick won't work. It's just the fact that ignore the mistake. Stay with the positive. Applaud the positive. And be always high on praise for the positives which they have done. And you see how the results will be. Just ignore. If somebody is making a mistake, just let go. And that is, I think, what is important.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Good morning. I am Dipendra. Sir, I got two questions for you. One is when the players they reach pinnacle of their career, say like Sidhu, she has just won the silver medal in Olympics. So immediately after that pinnacle, we see there is a low in the sense then they start losing couple of the matches. So what is the reason why they cannot continue immediately after reaching that pinnacle? So that low or maybe the downfall, short downfall which comes. This is one. And then as a coach, how do you deal with such players and the kind of players what we see at Saina Nehwal? She reached to pinnacle of her career, and then she stayed there for quite some time. And then now we see after stayed that sometimes she is facing some injuries, maybe some other kind of, and reaching to some pre-quarter final or quarter final levels. So how do you deal with these two kind of players? And when they're getting a lot of recognition immediately after reaching to pinnacle, and then for a shorter period going down, and then stable for some time, then now it's the downfall, and age is still there with them. So these two things, yeah.
Well, I think at 21, for example, if I just were to take Sindhu's example, she's won two World Championship medals. She's won an Olympic medal. She's won Commonwealth medal. She's won Asian Games medal. She's won Super Series. She's won. So there's a ton which she has won. And she's also lost a lot of them. So for me, I just don't discuss the losses. And that's the way to make her focus, is to remind her about her victories. And you will, at the end of the day, lose a lot of them. But if you remember the losses, then the possibilities of your wins become lesser. So the thought is that you reinforce the fact you're a champion, you're a champion, you're a champion. And then there are moments when you have an opportunity to win, and it just shows you the mindset, I will tell you. We played the Olympics, and the final, for example, the idea was that you go into the match, give your best shot, and I want to see you fight till the last moment. And even if you get a slight chance, grab it with both hands. So the idea is to give it all you have, and then if you have a slight chance, then you grab it with both hands. That's the kind of a thought process you go into. One example, I think, if you, how many of you have watched the Olympic final, semi-final? Semi-final, okay, fine, perfect. Semi-final, she actually walked out to me after the match, and I said something to her. All I said is, your match is done, and I was happy, very happy that she won, and we're going to win a medal. But all I said to her is, I want you to finish the press con quickly, and this is, I'm talking to her 5 seconds after she's finished the match. I want you to finish the press conference quickly, come back and recover, because there's an important match tomorrow. This is what I told her, and I didn't even say congrats, well played, fantastic, whatever. We clap hands, and that's it. Says, I want you quickly back, and I want you back in recovery quickly. And then she lost the final. And then I go to her and say, you've been fantastic. I don't want you to spoil what has been a great week because of a loss in the final. I don't want you to go onto the podium thinking that you've lost a gold medal. I want you to go to the podium thinking that you've won a silver medal. And I want you to see that. So the perspective, when I tell kids, is that when you're in the court, and you could be winning everything in the world, and you should still see the cup as half empty, because otherwise you don't push as much. And when you come outside the court, even if you're a district champion, you should actually enjoy the fact and see the cup as half full. Because it's actually that perspective which makes you happy when you're outside, and it's thirsty when you're inside. But if you actually reverse it, then your life is miserable. You come outside and you are thirsty, and you're wanting something, you're unhappy about things. And when you're going inside, if you're satisfied, then it actually leaves the perspective. So you want aggressive people with desire inside, but you also need people with contentment and happiness and relaxation outside. So that change of perspective is very, very critical, and I think that for me is the most important thing. Victories and losses have limited value. The process is important. And the day they win, if you treat them differently, then we have a problem. And that is the challenge for me, because there's a lot more people who get into players' lives the moment they win. There's a manager, there's a company, there's an event guy, there's suddenly new friends, new mentors. So So then it actually changes their perspective a little bit. So for me, I think it's very, very important that when they win, yeah, good, well done, fantastic. Come on, let's go back to training tomorrow morning. And when they lose also, you say, no problem, let's go back to training tomorrow morning. Because at the end of your career, you would have lost more matches than you've won, no matter who you are. And if you don't have that kid in you alive and saying, "Main jeet ke dikhaunga," you're not going to lose it. So you can't keep burdens on you.
Absolutely fantastic. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give a big round of applause. Pullela Gopichand.